Welcome to the Look Good, Move Well podcast.
Do you want to tell us about how you make Greek-style whole wheat pizza?
Sure. It was actually pretty easy. I did the dough in a food processor, which really just takes a few minutes.
Nice. Yeah. What are your ingredients for your dough?
I did whole wheat flour, yeast, a tablespoon of, you could use sugar or honey. So you proof the yeast in some hot water with olive oil and a sugar, like honey or sugar. Proof the yeast for like 5 minutes and then put that in a food processor with flour. Pulse that with like some salt. And I put a little Parmesan in.
Yeah.
Roll it all up. Super easy.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then you said you made sauce too?
Sauce had tomatoes, balsamic vinegar, olive oil, salt, and oregano. Tomato paste and tomatoes, of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Lovely.
Kids loved it?
Kids loved it.
Pizza night.
They eat a lot of pizza, just generally speaking, but
Yeah.
never homemade pizza. So they were into it.
Oh, rad.
Yeah.
My girls had pizza last night too.
Yeah. Do you do like a gluten-free crust?
Sometimes. I think it's not always. We didn't make it. They got it on the way home. They stopped, grabbed a really oversized slice that they split on the way home from dance, and they were pumped about it.
Where do you guys pick up pizza?
I think they went to Stefano's.
Yeah.
It was like there's like one on Novato and right on the way home. But if you're in Marin County, folks, Rocco's Pizza, Mill Valley, best pizza in Marin.
Really?
I might go as far as to say it's best pizza in Marin.
Wow.
It is really good.
Wow.
It's like, we went out to that like really fancy, like nice pizza last weekend in the city, which was a very unique experience. And then came home and we had ordered pizza for the girls and their babysitter, Rocco's. And I like grabbed a couple slices when I got home and I was like, damn, wait a minute. We just went out and dropped $100 on a pizza night in the city. And this is what I could have had. Yeah, it's wild. And they make it like we generally get a gluten-free crust and they make, it's so good. My God. Anyway, Rocco's Mill Valley. Yeah.
Okay.
And they have good lemonade there. Apparently the kids like the lemonade.
Right
They
on.
just like the fountain drinks,
Yeah.
Can we get lemonade? It's got the best lemonade.
Yeah.
It was so cute. Can I say two cute things that the kids did last night for any parents listening? Yeah. If you want to fast forward to the beginning of the episode, go for it. But hey, last night, Joey gets home and she's so excited because they went to pizza and she got a gumball and she comes out to the hot tub. She's like, Daddy, I had to show you something. And she wanted to show me her gumball. And then she's like, I was like, where'd you get that? And she was like, and she was working her so hard to like describe where it was because she didn't know the name of the pizza place. She was like, it's, you may know the place where we go and get lemonade and there's we can get gumballs and you have to put the coins in and I was like, yeah, where is that? Did you guys go to a store? She's like, she was just trying so hard. She's like, I don't know. And she just went back inside and she couldn't figure it out. And then the other super sweet thing was my other daughter, Noah, comes down. I hear her upstairs say, I got to go tell Daddy something. Or like, where's Daddy? He's like, he's working downstairs. I got to go tell him something. She comes downstairs. She walks in. She said, she's sipping her lemonade out of her little fountain drink cup, with the straw. And she says, Daddy, Mommy said that your shoulder was hurting. And Mr. Malone says that if you do this, and she starts doing the scratch test, hands behind, like trying to, reach behind. He says if you do this every day, it can make it so your arms and your shoulders feel really good. So maybe you should do that. And then I was like, that's a great idea. Like, I love that. Mr. Malone is awesome. He's like their PE teacher and he like does this thing every morning with them where they like do some stretches and some moving as a school before they start sitting in class. Anyway, and then she's like, okay, that was it. And she like left. I was like, my God, that was so sweet. She just thought of that like out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah. Cute.
Anyway, okay, that was my cute dump for the night or for the day. Let's talk.
Okay. Talking about fasting.
Yeah.
The 48-hour fast.
Yes. This was, it's been an interesting week of discussion around fasting.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, we released the article on Monday,
Yeah,
which was like why I stopped intermittent fasting.
that's right.
And then I had some back and forth with Thomas DeLauer.
Yeah.
Because then we posted something on, social media about it.
Yeah, he commented on that.
He commented on it, and then he DM'd with me a bit. And Thomas DeLauer, if you aren't familiar with him, go look at his content on YouTube. He's kind of I would put him in the expert category on sort of all things keto and fasting. Although he's a wealth of knowledge around a lot of things nutrition related.
He gets after it in the gym too.
He sure does. Yeah. He's definitely a fitness junkie for sure. And then we have this question that's coming in, and and then there's sort of just things floating around out there. Anybody who's following the Liver King knows about his 24-hour fasts or 5-day water-only fasts, and what is the value of fasting. And then there's the Zero app, which was popular and maybe still very popular, where you can track your fasting. And a lot of these, I just saw recently on MyFitnessPal, it's like, hey, now you have the option as a premium member to track your fasting, and you can put in your fasting windows. And so fasting. What the heck is that about?
Yeah, right.
And what defines a fast,
Yeah.
So, I mean, the question that came in, do you want to read it specifically, like the word for word? And do we have a name to shout out for being a contributing member of this podcast?
Yeah, this is from Jacob.
Okay.
How do I incorporate a 48-hour fast on a semi-regular basis, every other week maybe, while doing Persist Pump? Thomas DeLauer is a big health advocate for a 48-hour fast, but I'm struggling to incorporate it with working out. When do I start my fast? Like Monday morning after working out, or eat some food after working out and then start? When, if at all, do I work out during the fast? What are some other things to consider when fasting and working out? Great question.
Yeah. I mean, fasting and working out is definitely a topic that maybe isn't getting enough of a conversation.
Yeah.
But what I'm always super curious about is really getting to know, why does somebody want to start fasting?
Yes.
This is everything. Like
Yeah.
the whole conversation starts with, well, why are you doing it in the first place? And people's answers can range from, if you really get down to like, well, what is the real thing behind this? I want to lose weight. I want to look better. I want to turn on autophagy and live longer. I want to boost my testosterone. I want to start working on fixing my insulin resistance.
I want to have a spiritually purifying experience.
I want to, I think there's like a spiritual, psychological, emotional. I want to break my dependency on feeling like I need to eat every 2 hours,
or test my willpower.
All of the above. And none of those, I mean, I didn't hear anybody say like, I want to improve my performance, by not eating.
Right.
But perhaps there's somebody that's like, they've heard that, hey, it's got performance boosting effects. I'm not I'm not the expert on fasting research, current research, but I listened to enough from enough respected nutrition people to know that fasting is not this magic portal into incredible optimized health. If intermittent fasting, if 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating, or 18 and 6, or one meal a day, if those there's been enough studies at this point to compare to somebody who's eating just on a more typical eating schedule, that for most markers of health and body fat loss and etc., that if you match calorie intake, that generally there seems to be no difference in what window of time that you eat. Now, I don't know that that the studies have exhausted all of the potential health benefits, but because, like I said, I'm not up to speed on all of it, and Thomas DeLauer would be somebody who might be a better resource to go and listen to on that. But when it comes to like weight loss, fat loss, somebody's trying to like change their aesthetic, which is a big reason why I think a lot of people think intermittent fasting or fasting in general is going to help them.
Yeah.
They are, the good news is that like, hey, it's not magical. It's not the thing that like suddenly is going to make that work better. If you just restrict your calories or control for your calories in the same way in a different window, you can get there. Some people find it very easy to restrict calories when they just skip a meal and they condense their eating window. Other people, it doesn't seem to make the difference for them because they just eat more during the smaller window of time that they have for themselves. Now, somebody who's looking to go into like 48 hours of fasting or, stretch it longer, this is, in my experience, typically people who are like searching for the spiritual experience of it, or like it's not about body composition anymore. Maybe it is to some degree, but it's like, if I want to go for these longer ones, now it's about health. It's about longevity. It's about turning on genes in my, in my body that are about cleaning up the cells of all the waste products. And this is also something that, I don't know that the evidence and the research is conclusive on this, but it's certainly discussed. Like, I want to do a 5-day fast because it's going to it is the single most powerful thing that I can do to like give me years on my life. It's going to basically turn on a cellular process called autophagy, where I start to clean up all of the dead cells and all of the precancerous cells in my body, and it's like a reset. And that might be that could be true. But that process doesn't happen until you get into deeper levels of fasting, like the multi-day type fasts. For people that are doing the 16-hour fast and then the 8-hour window, the traditional intermittent fasting windows that we talk about, I don't believe, from my understanding, that you're getting a tremendous amount of these autophagy benefits. So anyway, take that for what it is. And, if you're interested, maybe you now have a couple different vocab words and some language to go and do some investigating on your own to see if, is my goal with fasting really lining up with what I'm trying to do here?
Yeah.
And if it's not, which it might not be, then is there an easier way for you to go about attaining your goal than starving yourself for 2 days or 1 day or 3 days? And for, I don't know this for certain, but I speculate that Thomas DeLauer is not encouraging people to do 48-hour fasts every 2 weeks. Knowing more or less his stance on fasting these days, I believe he's only doing 3 days at most, maybe 4 some weeks, but 3 days a week of fasting for like a 16 to 18 hour window. And then he's not following that strict schedule every day. So, and I haven't heard of him doing any 48-hour fasts recently. At least he hasn't been like super public about that. So, is a 48-hour fast every 2 weeks necessary for what your goal is? I don't know. Any additional kind of bigger frame questions that we should talk about with fasting before we maybe talk about it from a performance standpoint?
I think just the only other thing is that a lot of people who are in the health and fitness world have this idea about fasting as a means of detoxification. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to hear your take on, is that even a thing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. There is sort of, detoxing that's interesting. What is detoxing? I think even detoxing like is misunderstood. Like what is toxic about you? Somebody feels toxic because they've been, I had a couple too many nights of drinking last week and I've been eating a lot of sugar and I've been sort of overindulging. I really need to detox because I feel toxic. I haven't been like eating and consuming very balanced.
I haven't been eating clean.
Yeah, I haven't been eating clean, whatever that is. I think people just generally like, I've been in a calorie surplus for more days in a row consecutively. Plus I've been drinking, which is poisonous and makes me feel kind of crummy the next few days. Like that's what signifies I need to go onto a detox. So detox can actually just mean I need to like calorie restrict for a little bit to balance out my overeating, and that's what they're chasing. Mm-hmm. And so the detox with just juice for 5 days, which is like I'm not eating, it's just a fast. It's just an easy way to like, or maybe it seems like a straightforward way to cut calories and to get back to baseline.
And to give your liver a break.
Maybe to give your liver a break from alcohol.
Yeah.
But it's like your liver's fine processing nutrients.
That's its job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, detox. But, when you go into a calorie deficit or a prolonged calorie deficit, your body does sort of detox. How does that even happen? It's like, well, when you're in a calorie deficit, a prolonged one, your body has to start relying on its energy reserves, which is stored energy in the form of fat and glycogen. But after a period of like not eating for, X number of hours or a day, like now your glycogen stores are emptied, and now your body has to use its body fat for fuel. That's where it's going to get its calories from. It's your own body fat. And so what a lot of true toxins or environmental toxins do get stored in body fat. So when you start to like burn your own body fat, like you can be detoxifying. But sweating is detoxifying, like peeing, pooping, like these are ways we detoxify. We get stuff out of our system. And yeah, if you are in a calorie deficit, and if you are not in storage mode, like an anabolic mode, mm-hmm. and you're kind of in catabolic mode, breaking down some tissues, breaking down fat, breaking down things, like you can sort of be giving up certain toxins or just metabolites or things in your body. And somebody's like fasting for a couple of days, even if you're doing like the juice cleanse, like you're like, oh, I'm peeing so much, and I'm like getting all this stuff out of me, and it's like, okay, you are kind of getting rid of some extra fluids perhaps, but it's not, it's we have systems to detoxify like all the time.
Yeah.
And even just going into like caloric restriction, even if you go into like a small cutting diet for 8 weeks, that's detoxifying in and of itself.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So I hear people that talk about, I wake up and I train fasted. I've heard people say like, hey, I do intermittent fasting. I don't eat my first meal until noon, and I train at 8 a.m. Is that bad?
Yeah.
I want to keep doing pump, but I want to incorporate a 48-hour fast. Let's say your reason for doing the 48-hour fast checks off. It's like, this is a spiritual thing. I want to do this for like my brain and for my heart and for my soul. And I want to just like learn how to not be attached to food for, 2 days and be able to just sit comfortably with that and survive. Like this is built into our DNA. Like we've had to do this and survive.
Or even people who train through Ramadan. So they might want to stay on pump, but still observe Ramadan.
Yeah. Which is like anywhere from 14 to 18 hour fast, depending on the time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little different than 48, but either way, it's like, hey, I got to train fasted. Well, one, got to go back to like your reason for doing it. If you're really trying to optimize your body composition, then your training is very important to that. You want to bring your best energy and effort to the resistance training that you're doing. Otherwise, you are not going to optimize your, muscle building stimulus and muscle mass. You also want to optimize your nutrition around your weight training so that you can really take advantage of building muscle. So if body composition is your focus, then I would say that training fasted and then not eating for multiple hours after the training is not ideal. If that's your goal. So you're like, oh, well, that is my goal. I'm fasting because I want to try and make this my goal. Then either move your training to a different time of day inside your fasting window, change your fasting window so that it surrounds when you like to train, or know that you might be leaving something on the table. You're like, but the fasting window really is the thing that's helping me with my calories, and I want to stick to that, and I just can't. Then just know it's probably not optimal, and that in order to get the most out of your training, you probably want to, you can then you can start to think about like, well, how do I kind of hack the system a little bit? It's like, well, okay, stick to your fasting window, but drink a bunch of amino acids during your, which technically breaks a fast because that's introducing calories, and your digestive system has to do some absorption, some work. But as we talked about, like, you're probably not going to miss anything by like the 16-hour fast isn't like turning on the crazy like autophagy, genes and process that's like making this massive difference for you. Like if you just want to keep most of your calories in that window later, but during training, like have like a whey protein shake, and that's it, or, have a bunch of, branch chain amino acids to go with it. Like you could mitigate some of like the, obstacles of like not having any fuel around training. And then you might want to also use some like stimulants to like get you like drink your coffee. Like you don't have a lot of energy stores, like a lot of carbohydrates available to you to like use for training, but like maybe ramp up your nervous system and get your, get the stimulant effect from coffee. And perhaps that can, get you a really quality training session along with some amino acids. And it's like, maybe, it's not a ton of calories. It's just a small little thing that you're taking in, and that in your mind doesn't break your fast or, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're doing 48 hours of fasting, then I would absolutely aim to, if you're doing pump, what it would look like to me is after your workout on Saturday, the last workout of the week, have a big meal, and then start your fast. And so if that's like in the morning on Saturday, get a big lunch, and then no food the rest of Saturday, no food Sunday, no food Monday morning, break your fast on Monday at noon, train Monday afternoon. And your Monday workout's not going to be great.
Yeah.
Your Tuesday workout will be a little bit better. And your Wednesday workout, you'll be back into form. And then it's like Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, get great training sessions in, and then start it over. But I would just do it that way so that you, take advantage of a full rest day on Sunday where you're not going to be training, and then make sure your last workout on Saturday has a lot of food right after it. And then you start that fast, really lower your activity level during that time. Don't do much. Take it easy. And then come back on Monday and know that your Monday training session is going to be lower, but time a meal, or maybe even 2, like break your fast at noon, then have another meal at 3, and then work out in the evening, and then go back to your normal schedule on Tuesday. That would be how I would time it. That way you are, in every workout of the week, you're getting pre and post workout nutrition. You're eating in a fed state, not a fasted. You're training in a fed state, not a fasted state, and you're putting that 48-hour window across two sleeps, and basically like one morning and one afternoon.
Yeah. And out of curiosity, what would you recommend for Ramadan where you're not allowed to take in any liquid or any stimulants or anything during daylight hours?
I mean, when I've had people that I've coached or have been on programs, it's get your workouts in when the sun's down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah. It would be, I mean, again, it really depends on the time of year and what the sunset and the sunrise is doing. But for me, I would personally, I would wake up early and I would train. And I might wake up early, train fasted, but make sure that I'm done. It would be break fast at sundown, eat pretty big, or actually depending on when sundown is, let's say sundown's at like what it is now, which is like 7.
Yeah.
I might eat like moderate, and then like 2 hours later eat big-ish, and then sleep, and then wake up at, I have to get up at like, I think sunrise is at like 6:30 right now. So it's like wake up at 4:45, train from 5 to 6, eat as much as I can in that window, and then, do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that way you're just getting to train with hydration. With maybe when I wake up, I would have like, some fruit and like a protein shake, and then I would train.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, it would be challenging for sure. And sleep would definitely be disrupted, because eating also late at night before sleep isn't optimal for me. And for most people, it's not.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the big meal at sundown, and then maybe a smaller meal before bed, sleep, wake up, have hydration, have carbs, train, big protein, big carb, big fat, big meal before sun comes up, as much liquid as I can get in. And then it's, the full day of no fluids, no food, and then repeat the process.
Yep.
Some people they don't like to train that early in the morning, and they're like, I want to get as much sleep as I can. So then it would be sundown. I mean, I also know some people do this. They start their training at like 5:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And then as soon as their training's done, it's sundown and they can eat as much as they want. But that training is not going to be
It's going to feel productive. Really tough. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to have to really will it to make it really effective.
Yeah.
And it's possible. I mean, gosh, I know there's a handful of, NBA legends that played NBA games during Ramadan, and those are night games, and that didn't eat, drink water, anything all day.
Intense,
and, yeah. So you can make it happen.
Yeah.
On sure,
willpower.
Which is incredible, but it's not going to be optimal. So if you want to do that, you can.
Yeah.
Otherwise, maybe follow the break the fast with a small meal, go train, then have your mega meal, then go to bed, and then wake up just enough time in the morning to get another good meal in before you start another fast.
Yeah. That's how I did. I would train at night and then try to nap if you can during the day.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a nap would certainly help pass some of that time.
Yep.
Gosh, that would be a very difficult schedule for just how I've built my rhythms, but
yeah,
we can rewire our rhythms if the motivation and the purpose is there.
Yeah. So yeah, just to bring it back, I think connecting to the purpose for your fast, that's what it's really all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I started my fasts when I did intermittent fasting with the purpose of, I was actually kind of inspired by like a post I saw that Rich Froning had started doing intermittent fasting, and he had talked about how his, testosterone levels had gone up substantially on some blood work. And it was like, okay. Like, he's like, nothing else changed about what I do. And, I obviously should question that. You should question that for anybody who says that. It's like, don't take him at face value, although he's a very regimented person. He doesn't seem to have, like, he's, pretty steady in what he's always done with his training and his training volume. And I was like, okay, well, perhaps that's something for me to explore too. And then once I got into, and this is also around the time where like everyone was like, hey, fasting is the greatest thing on earth. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to experiment with this. And once I got into it, I was like, wow, this is a really interesting process of like reshaping my connection to food and like when I need to eat and when I don't need to eat. And, when you're eating, like your digestive system's working, it's working hard. And if you're eating frequently and if you're eating a lot, it just has to work super hard. When you're fasting, your digestive system is kind of resting, getting a break, getting to heal. And I needed to, that was a time where I really needed to do that. So digestive health was a motivator for me. I was like, oh, I need to try these longer breaks where I'm not eating so that my digestion can just chill. And then it was about this relationship to food, this like, I'm hungry, but like, am I really hungry? Like, what is hunger really? And then then later on, I started to see body composition changes where I was like, oh, I like that. I like how I'm getting a little leaner as a result of this, which then became this like, that was the trap I fell into, was like, oh, intermittent fasting is what's got me lean.
Yeah. I
need to stick to this process. Otherwise, like I don't know how else to be this lean and just it to feel kind of easy. And then it stopped feeling easy. And I was like, this is hard. Like, but I don't want to stop because I don't want to not be lean. And it just got really kind of messy, to the point where I was like, I gotta stop this. This is not fitting in my lifestyle anymore. Like I'm not feeling great.
Yeah.
So that was just a person, but to connect with the why, like, why am I doing this in the first place? And am I even meeting that goal anymore?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you all want to read more on that article, we have the intermittent fasting, why Marcus stopped intermittent fasting blog post on our website at functional-bodybuilding.com in the learn articles section.
Sweet. Yeah. That was that. Like, a lot of people responded to that, and they were, they found it really useful, interesting. So
yeah.
We got that out there for you. Go check it out and send us your questions, anything you want to hear about on the podcast. We'd love to touch on your topics of choice.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care.